Maya's fingers trembled as she pressed herself against the cold concrete wall of Rosewood Academy, her heart hammering so loud she was certain the security guard would hear it. Through the barred window, she could see Mrs. D'Souza writing equations on the whiteboard, her voice floating out into the humid Mumbai afternoon. Maya clutched her torn notebook tighter, the one she'd salvaged from a trash bin 3 weeks ago, its pages now filled with her careful handwriting. "Hey! You there!" The guard's voice shattered her concentration. Maya didn't think, she just ran, her bare feet slapping against the hot pavement as she clutched her notebook to her chest. Behind her, she could hear his heavy boots pounding, getting closer. She darted left into a narrow alley between two buildings, her small frame allowing her to squeeze through spaces he couldn't follow. When she finally stopped, gasping for air behind a dumpster, tears of frustration burned her eyes. This was the 4th time this week they'd chased her away. But Maya would be back tomorrow. She always came back. 12 years of life on Mumbai's streets had taught Maya many things, but the most important lesson was this: nobody sees you unless they want something from you. And what people usually wanted from street children like her was for them to disappear. She had learned to make herself small, invisible, a shadow moving through the chaos of the city. But invisibility came at a price. It meant no one saw her potential either. No one saw the brilliant mind trapped inside the dirty, thin girl who slept under the Andheri highway overpass with her mother. Kamala had once been beautiful. Maya had seen the photograph, torn and faded, that her mother clutched during her rare lucid moments. A young woman with bright eyes and a promising future as a schoolteacher. That was before the voices started, before the paranoia consumed her, before everything fell apart. Now Kamala spent her days muttering to people who weren't there, sometimes laughing, sometimes screaming, always lost in a world Maya couldn't enter. "The birds are telling me secrets, Maya," Kamala whispered that evening as they settled onto their usual spot under the overpass. She wore 3 layers of clothes despite the heat, convinced that invisible enemies were trying to steal her organs. "They say you're special. They say you'll fly away from here." Maya pulled a torn piece of cardboard over her mother's legs. "Maybe, Amma. Maybe someday. Don't leave me alone with them. They watch through the walls, you know. Through the concrete and steel. I won't leave you, Amma. I promise." Maya had made this promise 1,000 times, and she meant it every single time. Her mother was all she had, broken as she was. The memory of school, real school, had faded into something dreamlike. Maya had been 7 when Mrs. Patel found her begging outside the tea stall in Bandra. The old woman had kind eyes behind thick glasses and hands that smelled of cardamom and ginger. She'd given Maya more than food that day. She'd given her hope. "You're a smart girl," Mrs. Patel had said, watching Maya sort the coins she'd collected with mathematical precision. "Can you read?" "Yes, Auntie. I went to school for 2 years before we had to leave." Mrs. Patel's expression had softened with understanding. "Before your mother got worse?" Maya had nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. What followed were 6 magical months. Mrs. Patel let Maya work at the tea stall, cleaning tables and washing cups in exchange for meals. She bought Maya a uniform, second-hand but clean, and enrolled her in the local government school. Maya still remembered the feeling of walking through those gates in proper clothes, carrying actual books, being called by her name instead of dirty girl or worse. The teachers noticed her immediately. While other students struggled with basic arithmetic, Maya solved complex problems in her head. She read 3 grade levels above her peers. She asked questions that made the teachers pause and think. For 6 months, Maya wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen, valued, celebrated. Then Mrs. Patel's daughter in Dubai had a difficult pregnancy and needed help. The old woman had cried as she explained she had to leave India. She promised to send money for Maya's school fees, but the money never came. Without Mrs. Patel's support, Maya couldn't pay the fees. The school had no choice but to remove her from the rolls. Maya had begged. She'd offered to clean the school, to do anything, if they'd just let her stay in class. But rules were rules, and a government school operating on razor-thin margins couldn't afford charity cases, no matter how bright. Back on the streets, Maya had tried to keep learning on her own. She sold tea packets in plastic bags, earning 20 rupees on a good day, saving every paisa she could. She taught herself from books she found in trash bins, from newspapers left on train seats, from any scrap of written material she could find. But it wasn't enough. She needed teachers, structure, real education. That's when she discovered Rosewood Academy. She'd been selling tea near the Juhu neighborhood, where wealthy families lived in towers that seemed to touch the sky. The school sat behind high walls, its buildings pristine white with green trim, its grounds dotted with trees that provided shade for students who had never known hunger or fear. Maya had stopped outside the gates one afternoon, mesmerized by the sound of children reciting poetry in English. The next day, she came back. And the day after that. She learned the school schedule, when classes started, when they broke for lunch, when the guards changed shifts. She found a spot near the 8th grade classrooms where she could hear through the windows if she pressed herself against the wall just right. And she started taking notes. For 3 weeks, Maya had been the school's invisible student. She learned about chemical reactions and historical battles, about Shakespeare and trigonometry. She filled her salvaged notebook with everything she could absorb, her mind drinking in knowledge like water in a drought. The guards chased her away regularly, but Maya was persistent. She'd wait an hour and return from a different angle. It was on a Thursday afternoon, hiding in her usual spot during a mathematics lesson, that everything changed. "What are you doing?" Maya's head snapped up. A girl her own age stood 5 feet away, wearing the crisp green and white Rosewood uniform, her long hair pulled back in a neat braid. She had curious eyes and wore expensive glasses with thin silver frames. Maya recognized her from seeing her through the windows. This was Priya Sharma, daughter of Rajesh Sharma, the industrialist whose face appeared on billboards across the city. I was just. Maya stammered, already preparing to run. "You're taking notes," Priya said, stepping closer. She glanced at Maya's notebook. "From Mrs. D'Souza's class?" Maya clutched the notebook protectively. "I'll leave." "I'm sorry." "Wait." Priya held up her hand. "Can you explain something to me? I don't understand what she's teaching about quadratic equations. My tutor tried to explain it 5 times, but I still don't get it." Maya blinked in confusion. This wealthy girl, who had every advantage Maya could dream of, was asking her for help. "Which part?" Maya asked cautiously. Priya pulled out her own notebook, pointing to a problem. "This one. How do you know which formula to use?" Maya looked at the equation. The answer formed in her mind instantly, the way it always did with numbers. They just made sense to her, a language she'd always been fluent in. "Okay, see." Maya began, and for the next 10 minutes, she explained the concept, using simple examples, drawing diagrams in the dust with her finger. She showed Priya the pattern, the logic beneath the numbers. "Oh." Priya's face lit up with understanding. "That actually makes sense. You're a really good teacher." "Better than my tutor, and my father pays him 5,000 rupees a month." Maya felt warmth spread through her chest. When was the last time someone had complimented her? Really seen what she could do? "What's your name?" Priya asked. "Maya." "I'm Priya." "Obviously." She laughed. "Listen, Maya, I have a mathematics test tomorrow, and I'm going to fail if I don't understand this stuff. Could you help me during lunch period? There's a banyan tree in the back corner of the grounds. No one goes there." Maya's heart raced. "I'm not allowed on the school grounds. I'm inviting you. That makes it okay." "I don't think." "Please?" Priya's eyes were earnest. "I really need help. And you clearly know this stuff better than anyone. I'll bring you lunch. Good lunch, not the terrible cafeteria food." Maya hesitated. Every instinct told her this was dangerous, that she was crossing a line that would only lead to more pain. But the hope was irresistible. A chance to actually teach, to use her knowledge, to be useful to someone. Okay, Maya whispered. Tomorrow. During lunch. Priya's smile was brilliant. Perfect. See you then. She started to walk away, then turned back. And Maya? Thank you. Really? That night, under the overpass with her mother's head resting in her lap, Maya allowed herself to imagine what tomorrow might bring. Kamala was having a bad night, crying about shadows with teeth and walls that breathed, but Maya barely heard her. Her mind was full of equations and possibilities. The next day, Maya approached Rosewood Academy with her heart in her throat. She waited until she saw students streaming toward the cafeteria, then slipped through a gap in the fence she'd discovered weeks ago. The banyan tree stood in the far corner of the grounds, its branches spreading wide enough to create a shaded room beneath its canopy. Priya was already there, sitting on a bench with 2 steel tiffin containers in front of her. You came. Priya jumped up, genuinely excited. I was worried you'd change your mind. Come, sit. I brought chicken biryani and samosas. My cook makes the best samosas in Mumbai. Maya sat carefully, trying not to think about how dirty she was compared to Priya's pristine uniform. The smell of the food made her stomach cramp with hunger. She'd had nothing but a small piece of bread since yesterday afternoon. Eat first, then we'll study, Priya said, pushing a container toward her. Maya wanted to refuse, wanted to maintain some dignity, but hunger won. She ate slowly, trying not to wolf down the food like an animal, even though every cell in her body screamed for her to devour it. The biryani was the most delicious thing she'd ever tasted. If you're enjoying Maya's story and want to see how her journey unfolds, please hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below. Your support helps share stories like these with the world. As Priya worked through her mathematics homework, Maya explained each concept with patience and clarity. She'd always had a gift for seeing patterns, for understanding how pieces fit together. Mathematics wasn't just numbers to her, it was logic, beauty, truth. And sharing that understanding with someone who actually wanted to learn felt like purpose. You're amazing at this, Priya said after successfully solving 3 problems on her own. Seriously, how did you learn all this? I listen, Maya said simply. I read whatever I can find. I practice. But you don't go to school? Maya shook her head. I used to. For a little while. But I couldn't afford it. Priya was quiet for a moment. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. Maya had learned this lesson early and well. Where do you live? Maya hesitated. With my mother. Under the Andheri overpass. Priya's eyes widened, but to her credit, she didn't recoil or look disgusted. Instead, she looked sad. Is your mother? She's sick, Maya said quietly. In her mind. She wasn't always like this. But we can't afford doctors or medicine. So we manage.